you here with us today. Thank you for being here. And thank you to those of you who are watching on Zoom or Facebook. We're super happy to have you joining us as well. So at Unity of Lawrence, we begin everything with prayer. And so let's take a centering breath and open to the divine in all of us and listen to this prayer. On this day, we dedicate our hearts to peace on earth. We appreciate everyone's spiritual journey and the abundant blessings bestowed upon us. In unity with all who seek to express freedom, joy, and transformation, we welcome our divine inheritance as creators. In harmony with this truth, we live to the best of our ability with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit, and so it is. Amen. Our prayer chaplains are trained to hold sacred space and pray one-on-one. If there is anything at all in your heart to be held in prayer, we invite you to see a chaplain after today's service at the front of the sanctuary. There's a place here and a place there. And today's chaplains are Diane and Cindy. There's Diane, there's Cindy. Thank you. Our chaplains will also pray for you during the week. You just fill out a prayer request slip and place it in the wooden box outside the office. And those are little purple slips you might see in the chair in front of you. Chaplains can also visit you in times of need. Just let the office know. And all prayers are confidential. And on a personal note, I want to thank this Unity community for all your prayers for my husband. He was in a motorcycle accident that was very scary a couple of weeks ago, and he is healing miraculously. So I just thank you so much for that. I really, really do. Thank you. And he thanks you also. All right, are we ready to start singing? That's another thing we love to do here. So Holly's going to lead us in doing what I do best.
Let's all stand up together. You can move around a little bit. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best. If living really gets me high, if I'm not just getting by, if I'm passing every test, I must be doing what I do best. And this is how I wanna pass my days. This is how I wanna pass my days. This is how I wanna pass my days. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best. And now let's turn and greet each other. is how I wanna pass my days. This is how I wanna pass my days. This is how I wanna pass my days. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best. If I never ever get the blues, and life is too good to be true, if the answer is always yes, I must be doing what I do best. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. This is how I'm gonna spend my time. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best. Doing what I do best.
Woo! Okay. Wow, we are awake, we are alive, and we are so talented, aren't we, as a congregation? It's beautiful. And the dancing going on in the sides, I liked that, yeah. Okay, so let's share our unity intentions now. So if you will please affirm with me unity's founding principle. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the source of all good. Now our Unity of Lauren vision statement. Together, united in divine love and joy, we celebrate a peaceful and abundant world for all. And our Unity of Lawrence mission statement. Together, we are a thriving spiritual community, sharing love, building bridges, and inspiring transformation. And now please welcome our very special musical guest, Leela.
Reflection in the mirror, what do you see? Is it you in all your glory? Hard to recognize with changing costumes over time, yet timeless essence remains. Ooh, la 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 Have you sailed the seven seas? Have you weathered many storms? And clouds begin to break. Have you reached the welcome shore? Have you kissed the ground in gratitude? Now is the time for love. Now is the time for love. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time for love. Ooh, la 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 The sun is setting for everyone, all you travelers far and wide. It's so short a ride. Now is the time for love. Now is the time for love. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time for love. Ooh, la, 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 la. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time for love.
Wow. What a treat. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I can't wait to hear more. And now we have another treat because Suzanne Giesemann is here. And she is a teacher of personal transformation, an author, and a medium who has been recognized on the Watkins list of the top 100 most spiritually influential living people. And she's here. Lucky us, right? Wow. She's also a former Navy commander, so we better really behave. I'm just kidding. With a master's degree in national security affairs, she served as a commanding officer and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Suzanne is known for her joyful, down-to-earth style of making deep spiritual concepts easy to understand. She laces her teaching with evidence-filled stories of the greater reality and practical tools that produce the personal experience of our multi-dimensional nature. Her messages bring hope and healing that goes straight to the heart. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. Good morning. I was just thrilled sitting there as you began to sing. I heard the lyrics will be meaningful today. And so I'm sorry if we interrupted you by talking in the middle of that beautiful song, but it was stunning what you said. It relates directly, the lyrics relate directly to part of the message this morning. Really happy for the turnout. Why am I in Kansas? I live in South Carolina. For the past 15 years, my husband and I have taken the messages of hope on the road in our motor coach, and our tour was going to bring us back through Kansas, but we had a detour, and we ended up buying a summer home in Idaho, and we want to spend a little time there before going back home. And I said, what about Unity of Kansas? And at that time, we'd had 35 people sign up for the workshop that follows, and I looked at Ty and I said, doesn't matter if it were 10, we're not going to disappoint anybody. I'll fly in. And when I saw the cost of the flight and the hotel and the rental car, I said, let's at least break even. And we did that and more, but I'm just grateful that means more people are coming to hear the messages. I remember doing a phone reading for a woman. Now, I can't see her, can't see body language, and a reading is when I tune into their loved ones who have crossed. Remember the background you just heard, right? Navy commander, aide to the head of the United States military. So I love that that helps people at least listen to what I have to say. Then it's up to you to decide. So I had her on the phone, and right away I said, your husband, you have a husband who passed. He's giving me the name Mike. She said, that's his name. And I don't always hear names when I do sessions. So I was thrilled right off the bat, and I said, he's showing me little baby tigers. She said, really? little baby tigers? Now, this is a bizarre thing to see, little tigers playing with each other. I said, yeah, and he's petting them. Really? Baby tigers? That's something we've done, she said. I have this memorized because I watched that video. I play it for people when they want to understand how evidence changes people's lives. For me to see the video of this husband petting little baby tigers, who can deny this was him? This is a memory long buried in her mind, and here it comes. But the reason I bring that particular reading up is because often in a reading, those across the veil just put images in my mind, and I have to feel into why. I said, he's showing me the Wizard of Oz. Now, why would he be showing me the Wizard of Oz? I said, Yellow Brick Road, Wizard of Oz, not your favorite thing? She said, no. And I said, well, let me go a little deeper. Wizard of Oz happened in Kansas. And she said, well, yeah, Kansas, that's where we live. And on the video, I'm so embarrassed. I said, really? Nobody lives in Kansas. What I meant to say was that almost all of my clients came from the East Coast, or because I was in Florida at the time, and many of them were in Florida, and so none of my clients came from Kansas. So that, to me, was just another piece of evidence that I was talking to her husband. Mediumship changes lives in minutes. When you show somebody that someone who they think is dead and gone, we say lost, is not lost at all, but is so very present all the time, because two realities, all realities, are intertwined. It's not like heaven is some far off place. We have misperceptions that we've been taught throughout our lives by others who were taught these things, and especially about heaven and about God. When all of these concepts, when you experience them in a non-ordinary state of consciousness, beyond this, what we call normal waking consciousness. I just read the other day that human consciousness is an altered state of consciousness compared to our natural state as a soul. Really important to think about that. So all I do is shift my state of consciousness. And I'm here to tell you, any of us can do this. I am not what they call a born medium. I did not see spirits my whole life. I did not know there was a greater life. It was only when my stepdaughter, Suzanne, a sergeant in the Marine Corps, was crossing the flight line at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point and was struck by lightning. They worked on her for 7 hours and couldn't save her. Seeing her body in the coffin was an epiphany for me. Most of us have seen a lifeless body, and that's what's missing, life from the body. Life is my favorite acronym. I say it stands for love in full expression. And that's what we are. And that, in my understanding, is what God is. Love in full expression, not a person, not a being, love. My definition of love is lack of separation. When you love somebody, you don't see any differences between you, do you? At first, right? The honeymoon period is, oh my God, they can't do anything wrong. And then after a little while, you start to see a little separation. But I'm talking about divine love, where we just feel that connection. I would just love for all of you to start seeing yourself as life flowing. Dissolve the boundary that you call me as a separate being and become life, love in full expression, flowing. My wonderful friend and assistant Lynette flew in from Atlanta to be with me here. I said, why don't you come? Just come be with me. And we got here a little early. We were sitting in the car, and we were listening to a song that just lifts us before we came in. And I noticed we were probably making gestures like this in the car, acting a little strange. And I noticed some ladies across the parking lot waving at me. So when I got out of the car, instead of coming into the building, I walked over to them and just big hug. And Rox said, why did you come over here? Love pulled me. Life pulled me. I have learned to dissolve the boundaries. The normal human would just say, well, I'm going to be the speaker. I'm going to go into the church. But no, when we dissolve the boundaries, all that's left is life, love in full expression. And it felt so good. And I walked up to the door and I had to stop and turn to Lynette and say, see, we are the arms and legs and voice of God. We are the arms and legs and voice of love in full expression. We need to learn to drop the stories. When we do that, all that's left is flowing. And I have learned so clearly to let Spirit just flow. Every step, if it's like a dance with Spirit, you tune in, you tune in. I know beyond any doubt we are souls in human form for a while. And the soul has the bigger picture. And we have teams of guides. Can you imagine the Navy commander talking about spirit guides? They would have taken my security clearance away. But now I can tell you, we have a team of non-physical helpers at another reality that's right here, flowing with us. And they are so ready to help you flow. Up until just a few days ago, I thought they guided us. And they're correcting me even up to this moment, saying, no, we're just helping you flow a little better. So I want to share a little magical moment that happened while being in the flow just this morning. I was told by Kathy, a wonderful administrator of the church, I could go in this green room if I wanted some private time. And I thought, well, I don't want to go up in front of everybody, so I'm just flowing, and I flowed down the steps, didn't even know where I was going, just about 15 minutes before the service started, and I flowed into a room. I said, well, nobody will see me here, and I didn't know why I was there, just for some quiet time, and I was drawn, I call it snags, to a painting, and I was stunned, and I knew I was in the flow, and it has made my whole month here, probably more. It'll be on my wall for years, forever and ever, and I'll share it with you in a minute. Why it's so significant is I was in a Unity church quite a few years ago, and I do, in addition to doing one-on-one readings, channel my guides named Sanaya. How many of you have seen me channel on YouTube? So you know Sanaya. They provide daily messages that are read by tens of thousands around the world. The Awakened Way daily messages. But every once in a while, I'll go into a much more altered state of consciousness and allow them to speak through me. So I was at a little Unity church in Florida, and I never know how Sanaya is going to show up or which member of the collective consciousness of Sanaya will speak. And that day, to my surprise, but it wasn't the first time, Jesus had a message for the congregation. I was raised with no religion. But I was raised with a mother who made it very clear, we don't even talk about Jesus in our house. I still to this day don't know why. But when he comes to you, and I know he has come to many of you here, and it doesn't matter what master comes to you, you can't deny that love. The love and the messages are so profound that it has changed my life. So beautiful experience for most people in that congregation. When I came out of it, I noticed one woman stand up in a huff and left the church because it was clearly her belief system that that's not right to do, to channel Jesus. Or I can't assume to know what was in her thoughts while I'm in human mode. When we merge with the one, we can actually know other people's thoughts. But it was clear she was not happy. So not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, I was having a discussion with Lynette about channeling and how to this day I feel a little awkward doing that, especially when Jesus comes through. And she said, Suzanne, you know that picture of Jesus where he's holding one little lamb and the flock is around him? She said, that lady was the little lamb. Let Jesus handle those people that aren't ready for these messages. You speak to the rest of them. They'll feel the truth in that. So would you hand that to me? I go downstairs and look at that picture. Yeah. I went online after she shared that, and I tried to find a picture like this that spoke to me. I found one that's similar, and it's up in my meditation room at home, but that's the one right there. And I was like, how am I going to get this picture? I have to have this. I'll pay anything for this picture. And then as part of the miracle, I noticed that it was on a tray of items that anybody could donate to the church for. So we already did that, and it's mine. You can't have it. No. No. Beautiful. Oh, I don't want to talk too long, do I? I could talk forever and share the stories. The reason I know that mediumship is real, that the greater reality is real, is from connecting with thousands of people's loved ones with evidence. And I realized it was real when I took my husband to a medium before I had any idea I would open up these abilities in myself. I didn't give the medium my last name. I didn't want her to Google me. Total skeptic, right? But open-minded. An open heart. Wanted so badly to know that Susan was still around, my stepdaughter. And the medium started telling me wonderful things about my life and things about how much I love my husband, and everything was true, but I said, I really was hoping to hear from a certain spirit. I didn't want to give anything away. And she said, no, I don't sense anybody. But wait, she said, there is a young woman who just stepped in. Now, the skeptic in me is thinking, if this medium says, oh, yes, there's a woman with gray hair who appears to be your grandmother, and she died when her heart stopped beating, I might have had a problem with that, right? But instead, it's a young woman who appears to have passed in her 20s, and I'm getting a tingly electric feeling up and down my arm. Lightning strike? And she's wearing a brown uniform, and she's dancing in front of you, saying, Mother, Mother. I said, give me a second, I got to get my husband in here. The woman had made us sit separately. I brought Ty in, and she said, now he's standing in front of him saying, Daddy, Daddy, and she just climbed onto his lap and put her hands around his neck like this. Our tough-as-nail Marine Corps sergeant sat exactly like that the last time we saw her, just before we left her 7 months earlier. It went on with other things like that that left both of us sobbing because we could not deny from the evidence. Susan was right there in the room with us. But the clincher was when that medium said, wait, she's bringing with her a little baby boy now who she wants to introduce to you. But he's standing back shyly, sucking his thumb as if he doesn't know you. Susan was 6 months pregnant with a boy when she was killed. That turned my life in a completely different direction. To discover that I can change people's lives in an hour, that all of us have this ability. Why? Because we're souls. In the biography, you heard that I like to teach in metaphors and make complex concepts more simple. The easiest way that I can explain that main unity principle, could you go back 3 slides, Avery? Let's get it up there. There it is. There is only one presence, one power in the universe and in my life, God, the source of all. When I read that, I know if I had read it years ago, I would have put God, the source of all. But now I know that God is this awareness, this I am presence, as came up in this morning's Daily Way message, that all of us share, this awareness I exist that never goes away. Awareness with a capital A is what we all share. When we get rid of the stories and the costumes, we're left with I am. But it's so much more than we could ever handle while wearing these costumes. So an analogy would be that God, source, is like the ocean, the sea of all consciousness, the one mind with a capital M. But if you've ever seen pictures, images of the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Sea, it's this swirling flow, like a stream within the ocean. Has anybody ever seen it? I actually crossed the 7 seas, one of them anyway, in my sailboat. So that was another lyric that struck me. And I have literally kissed the ground when going ashore. The Gulf Stream is identifiable. It stands out a bit from within the whole sea. But it's always changing. It's always flowing. And within the Gulf Stream, there are various eddies. You can actually tell when you sail through it. The whole color of the water changes. The temperature changes. That stream, let's call that the mind of humanity, the species mind. The ocean is the one big mind. The Gulf Stream would be the species mind. And every little eddy is you and me, our individual minds. We're patterns of sensations, thoughts, and feelings. But you can't separate one little eddy from the whole stream, nor can you separate the Gulf Stream from the ocean. So that same big mind that is all that is flows through the human mind and down to each individual mind, and it's all God. It's all love in full expression. And when we let ourselves be part of the flow, when we just kind of dissolve our focus on this one little eddy, life flows, I was going to say beautifully, and I like to say magically, but it's not magical at all. It's just the way it is when you align with the flow. I remember teaching this at Unity headquarters, not too far from here, a couple years ago, talking throughout this whole retreat about us being individual eddies in the flow of consciousness. And this one woman came up to me, a German woman, and she said, I am following everything you say, except I have one question. Who is Eddie? When you understand that we are this flow of energy information, consciousness, and you're willing to let your boundaries expand and merge with the entire sea, voila, here are your loved ones who have passed. Because we are all eddies in the same sea. You lose the body, you just lose a little bit of the density of your eddy, but that pattern that is your loved one, the story that you recognize that is complete with emotions and feelings, exists in all eternity. And when I interact with those across the veil, it is interactive, two-way, creative, funny, loving, emotional conversations. It is not just pulling data out of the air. So I want to bring the final message of this morning about our magnificence to life with an event that changed my life. It was the most astounding evidence I've received from a spirit, and it happened to be a dear friend of ours named Brenda. Brenda came to one of my talks at Unity of Phoenix some years ago, and when I finished the presentation called Heart Gifts, she went running from the church. Why? Because something in the energy that was transmitted cracked open this shell she'd put around her heart. Her eddy was kind of walled off, but she felt for the first time in almost a lifetime love, and she didn't know what to do with it. And thus started a conversation between us. I introduced her to Lynette, and they continued conversations about the greater reality, about who we all are, about how to love ourselves for years. Well, Brenda got cancer for about the fourth or fifth time in her life, and that was what ultimately caused her to pass in 2018. Brenda had studied mediumship with me because I've learned specific methods to show people, if I can do this, anybody can do this, connect across the veil. If you don't want to be a medium, learn to connect with your own loved ones. It's very simple, and I've broken it down into a process, which I'll be sharing this afternoon. How convenient. And she called herself my #1 stalker. Came with Lynette to almost every event around the country. So when she passed, everybody was wondering, how soon will it be before she shows up to any of our friends? Because she was studying mediumship. Is she going to be able to communicate pretty soon? To my surprise, she showed up beside me on the couch in my motor coach hours after passing. My poor husband, he's a retired Navy ship captain, right? Drove the battleship Iowa, captain of a destroyer. And imagine having a wife that says, don't talk to me, Brenda is here. And Brenda just died 3 hours ago, and he knows not to question this because the evidence over the years is irrefutable. There is a greater reality. love never dies. So here's Brenda, and she blew me away. If I tuned into your loved ones across the veil, they would sound like my own thoughts. The reason I would know it's them is because I feel a personality that's different than mine. I hear things I would never think of, such as baby tigers, petting baby tigers. I see images, but I don't see the spirits. So I go on the feel, the knowing, the images that they put in my mind. But this was Brenda. Couldn't see her, but I could feel her right beside me, but it was her voice, because I knew her so well. And she's just yakking on and on. Suzanne, I took my last breath, and they're like, she's gone. And I'm saying, gone where? It was just sassy, funny. And she says, and I'm visiting everybody all at once, and I'm sprinkling. This sounds so, I can't believe I'm saying this. The commander telling you, she says, it's just like I'm sprinkling fairy dust in everybody's hair. Well, there were about 4 or 5 of us in this group that she and Lynette started on Facebook that would feel a tickle in our hair for the next few days, and to this day, I feel it, and it's Brenda dropping in to talk to me. I remember walking into my motor coach one day, and I felt this tickle. I said, oh, Ty, Brenda's here. Oh, no, it's a real bug. It's not always Brenda. But meanwhile, she is going on and on about what it was like to die. She was having a great time because her body had been pretty sick, but free of that body, she suddenly trilocating, dropping in on several friends at once. I'll probably share stories this afternoon of the amazing web of connections that we play this game to prove that it's really her, how people play this game with her and me and Lynette. You cannot deny that Brenda is alive and well without a body. Here she is. And so, she's going on and on. She's clearly fine. And I said to her, all telepathically, as I'm typing every word of this to keep it for posterity, I said, Brenda, there's not a word of evidence in here. I know I'll go to everybody and say, Brenda's here. But it can't prove anything I just said to you. It all sounds good, right? I'm visiting 3 or 4 people at once. You know, I said I'm gone. Gone where? No evidence. And without missing a beat, she replied, like my boa? I literally saw a hand flip back a boa. You don't know what a boa is, like a scarf, boa. And I typed it, like my boa, and then I typed my reply, what? Because I had no idea what she was talking about. But I knew, just knew, as we know things at a soul level, that Lynette would know what she was talking about. And I knew that in those 3 words, like my boa, would be all the evidence we needed to know that this is Brenda, who is not dead and gone, hours after she left her body. And then she went back to talking about spirit world. She didn't tell me what that was about how she was visiting people who had passed. And she said, and you're going to channel me tomorrow night for our friends, which I did. And it's one of the most stunning videos I have to this day. Anybody who knew Brenda who watches it knows that she just used my arms to be her voice, used my mouth to be her voice. The gestures are her. Meanwhile, when she said, see you tomorrow, and just withdrew her presence, I sent all of this to Lynette. I said, Brenda just dropped in on me. And I knew she would just naturally comment on the like my boa thing. Well, I went to bed. This was 2018, and I wouldn't call you at 10 p.m. blows my mind. I'll call her at midnight now. It doesn't matter. But 2 a.m., I wake up, and I remember the drop-in. And I reach for my phone. My husband's sleeping. I pick it up, I go to email, and there's a reply from Lynette. And it starts out, O, period, M, period, G, period. The boa thing. She said, Suzanne, you don't know this story, and this is the point. I've never heard it. But we spent hours talking about what the afterlife is going to be like. I assured Brenda it was going to be fine. She was going to be fine. She was going to come on your radio show at the end of the month, but she didn't live long enough to tell this story. She would sit and say to me, Lynette, tell me Zsa. And that was the key word to this story. I always hope I get it right when Lynette's sitting in the audience. Lynette was 7 years old, living in Ponca City, Oklahoma. and her parents took her to New York City. Can you imagine how exciting that must have been? And she was so excited because they were going to see her idol, Zsa Zsa Gabor. And they went by the Broadway Playhouse, and there's a poster with Zsa Zsa on it. And this little 7-year-old was so disappointed because there's Zsa Zsa, no makeup, dressed like a farm girl, not in all of her finery, none of the beautiful elegance that she expected from Zsa Zsa Gabor. Crestfallen, they walk around the corner, the stage door opens, and out steps Zsa Zsa Gabor, boa and all. And when they would tell this story, Lynette would say to Brenda, who wasn't sure about what the afterlife was like, she would say, Brenda, I know that these bodies we wear are just costumes. Like the lyrics you use, we change costumes all the time. These are our people suits, they're costumes. But she said, it doesn't matter here if you dress like a farm girl, like a fireman, like a mail carrier, whatever it is. I know that when we cross the veil, we leave that costume behind, the body, and we step back into our magnificence as souls, boa and all. So here you are, Brenda, who has heard this story over and over again. You want to tell all your friends through a friend who's a medium who can hear you very clearly. It's great here. You want to let them know that what they discussed is true. But you don't want to give Suzanne the list of evidence like she normally wants. How did you pass? How old were you? What kind of work did you do? Give me the evidence, right? A laundry list. You want to tell them the good stuff. It's true. We are souls. We are love in full expression. And love truly is all that matters. So you're going to do it with great economy of word. How about 3 words? Like my boa. It is brilliant. Of all the evidence she could have given us, those 3 words told me, who never heard this story before, I knew it was Brenda, but I can now show to others, this is really her. At a soul level, no longer in a physical body, talking to me and saying it's true. Which is why to this day, in my meditation room, I drape this over the chair. Right? Right? I want to tell you, this is a journey we're all on, and it is flowing, and it's not completely predetermined. There are certain things that each one of us at a soul level came here to accomplish. Specific tasks with specific personalities and specific people that we would do it with. But we all share one mission, and it's to shine our lights more brightly. They say this is Earth School, and a lot of people take that to mean we come here to learn lessons. I disagree with that. I have a book coming out in April called The Awakened Way, and in it I make it very clear. It's like art school or music school where you take something, you, that is already magnificent and create something even more magnificent. That's what musicians and artists do. We are created in the image of the Creator, who is creative and has to express that magnificence through you. You are the arms, the legs, the voice of Spirit of God. And when you express love with this beautiful body in your particular unique costume, that's harmony, that's alignment, and then you're in the flow. I didn't used to be this way at all. When I first started talking at Unity churches, I would write out every word. I knew what I wanted to share because I was experiencing it in the early days of learning to attune to Spirit. But I couldn't read it. That would not be good. So I'd memorize it, I'd time it in front of a mirror. And then I got over time till I could break it down into bullet points, and I prop it up on the chair so I could glance at it like that. This is the first time in all these years I didn't make a single note. It got to a point where I just put some ideas. I just trusted this one Spirit that unites us all to flow through me when I got up here today. Usually I would be awake for hours in the middle of the night beforehand, making sure I got all those points down. This is freedom. The flow offers all of us freedom. I hope you'll take with you today that image of the Gulf Stream. I hope you'll go home and Google Images Gulf Stream and watch it and see yourself and everybody else as an eddy in the stream. And if you understand how the ocean works, you know, it's not just 2D like a drawing you're going to see. It's all one big flow in all directions that connects us with everybody. But think beyond space and time. Energetically, you're connected with your loved ones across the veil through the sea of consciousness. You're connected with loved ones in different locations through the sea of consciousness. And we can learn to discern beyond our normal patterns of sensations, thoughts, and feelings and merge and flow with anyone and anything. Why? Because it's all love. That's what connects us. When we get out of the head and stop needing the evidence and go to where the heart knows this is true, then life unfolds magically. I hope that something here stirred something in your soul that causes you to go within more often and then go beyond your boundaries and tap into this love that is us. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Thank you. Hey.
Lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. Lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. In this love. In this love. You will find everything in this love. In this love. You will find everything. There's a place where the words are born of silence. There's a place where the whispers of the heart arise. Now enter that silence. This is the surest way to lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. Lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. There's a place where the voices sing your beauty. There's a place where every breath carves an image in your soul. Now enter that silence. that surround you, and you'll see your own light, radiant as the full moon. Now enter that silence. This is the surest way to lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. Lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. In this love. In this love. You will find everything in this love. In this love. You will find everything in this love. Lose yourself in this love. Lose yourself in this love.
Just get up. Are you going to noodle some little music in there? Beautiful. I'd like you to join me in just a brief meditation. Let's bring this message home to the heart. Allow your eyes to close. Take in a very slow breath through the nose. And now relax and completely dissolve into this moment by exhaling longer than you inhaled. Continue breathing slowly. And I'd like you to picture your thoughts as clouds. Welcome every thought for a moment. Don't resist it. Welcome it. You may call these thoughts mine, my own thoughts, but they arise from the one blue sky of awareness. Watch how they arise for a moment. And now observe the space in between the thoughts. Just be with it. What is this emptiness? There's the paradox. It's both emptiness and fullness, with the fullness of potential. Any thought could arise next. Perhaps it will be the thought of a loved one who has passed. Perhaps it will be an ordinary thought of your own, all arising as clouds in that one shared sky, the one mind of God. It's right here. Sit as that sky for a moment and watch what clouds pass by. In this awareness of being both the sky and all that arises in the sky, perhaps with the willingness to lose the small self by identifying with the clouds and gaining the larger self by knowing you are all the clouds and the sky, greater insights will come to you. Feel that connection as you sit and allow yourself to know what the soul knows. You are this, all of it. Take in a breath and blow all the clouds around you out for a moment. Create some space. And as the sky right now, ask, what is it I need to know right now? And let the sky answer you. what you heard, trust it when it comes from the heart. It comes from the one mind that all minds share. This spacious awareness is utter and total connection. It is always here. It is your refuge. It is home. Taking a nice breath, bring yourself back to this beautiful moment in human form and affirm you are so very loved. Thank you.
Wherever you are, whatever you do, be in love, be in love. Whenever you're high, whenever you're blue, be in love, be in love. In the morning, when you rise, in your laughter, and when you cry, in the evening when you close your eyes, be in love. Wherever you are, whatever you do, be in love, be in love. Whenever you're high, whenever you're blue, be in love, be in love. When you hear the music of the whirling lovers, la na 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 na. When you hear the music of the whirling lovers, leap and join the circle, be in love. Wherever you are, whatever you do, be in love, be in love. Whenever you're high, whenever you're blue, be in love, be in love. Do, 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 na, 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 na. Be silent, then delighted. 100 veils fall away in the quiet of the heart. There is love. Wherever you are, whatever you do, be in love, be in love. Whenever you're high, whenever you're blue, be in love, be in love. Do, 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 be in love. Na, 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 be in love, be in love.
Thank you so much, all you guys. That was wonderful, wonderful. And thank you, Suzanne, so much. Don't you feel grateful? Woo! Okay, so now is the time that we say thank you through our offering. So as our ushers come forward for our time of thanks, please join me as we hold our gifts to the community in our hands and love in our hearts. Let's affirm together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. So as the love offering is collected, let's join Holly in singing, I've Got the Power.
I've got the power, you got the power, we've got the power. I've got the power, you've got the power, we've got the power. I've got the power, you've got the power, we've got the power. I've got the power to make all my dreams come true. I've got the power, there's nothing I can do. I've got the power to be anything I want. I've got the power inside of me. I've got the power inside of me. And I've got the power, you got the power, we've got the power. I've got the power, you got the power, we got the power. And I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I've got the power to make all my dreams come true. And I've got the power, there's nothing I can do. And I've got the power to be anything I want. I've got the power inside of me. I've got the power inside of me. I've got the power inside of me.
As our ushers come forward, here's our prayer of thanks. Please listen. We are grateful, and we bless the flow of good that supports our unity community. We bless the givers who give their time, talent, and treasure. We stand in the knowing that the flow of good goes forth only to return again and again, and so it is. Amen. And now for our opportunities. A special welcome to all our guests today. We thank you so much for joining us. If you would like more information about Unity of Lawrence, please pick up a welcome packet out in the foyer. The Sunday Lunch Bunch is meeting at Jade Garden at 1410 Castle Drive. Everyone is welcome. Suzanne is continuing her time with us today. Her workshop, Making the Connection, Learning to Attune to Higher Consciousness, is this afternoon from 1 to 4. It is 1 to 4. Yeah, see that up there? You can't trust anything up there. Actually, you can trust everything up there except the 3 o'clock. It goes till 4. You can still register. It's not too late. It's $35, and we will meet right in here. Okay? Okay. Remember, open meditation meets on Tuesdays at 6:30, also right here. The book study, Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth, finishes this Thursday, September 28th, from 6 to 7:30. The suggested love offering is $10 per session. Unity Talks is back, so join Catherine Andrews for her talk, The Hero's Journey, at 6:30 this Friday, September 29th. There's more information in the foyer. Join Phil Roger for the Sacred Circles Meditation and Mandala Retreat on Saturday, October 7th at Fairchild Wellness Retreat in Overbrook, Kansas. The retreat will include short bits about mandalas and sacred circles, their use as spiritual tools, with several idea-generating activities, viewing a few examples, and a few short contemplative meditations with an extended time for everyone to create their own personal mandala or sacred circle. No art experience is required. Really, zero, Phil says. Okay, we'll see about that. Now, the $25 donation is for the retreat and all supplies, and it's limited to 15 people. So there's a sign-up sheet and more information out in the foyer. We invite you to join us next Sunday when Reverend Dr. Martha Creek brings us the message, an afternoon workshop titled Living Untethered. Journey Beyond the Human Predicament. Special music in the morning with Greg Pellegrin. So now it's time to rise if you are able and sing the peace song together.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there